welcome. Welcome to Pink Lady Presents. I also have a little motto that I tell you every once in a while, my audience, is that it ain't over till I or you or our guest says it's over. And my guest today is someone that definitely shares my view with it ain't over. And that is Tess Cacciatore. Is that how I pronounce it?
Absolutely.
I want to make sure I'm right. Who is an author, a producer, a videographer, a keynote speaker, journalist, but more than that, is someone who I think is the word humanitarian to help, especially women and children, to be who they want to be and know that it ain't over. Tess, welcome. Really.
Thank you.
I've known you a while, and
Yes.
you don't change. You get younger and more useful.
I'm drinking the same water that you're
I guess
drinking.
that's what it is. Thank you so much.
I want your secret.
I'm going to get down to the one question that I want to begin with. The experience in your life, there had to be something there that put you on the path to founding your organization and to do the things that you're doing.
That's a very wonderful question and a loaded one that we could probably talk for days about, because it leads to my book, it leads to the journey, it leads to me being able to realize that my story has value, every story has value, because a lot of times I think when we're going through our trials and tribulations, we might feel like, well, it's just me. There's so much other worse things in the world, and believe me, there are. Being able to be blessed in being in the position of CEO with Global Women's Empowerment Network, I hear horrific stories that breaks my heart. So I wanted to create a platform for where we can share our stories. My own personal journey, as you mentioned, is in my book. I've experienced homelessness close enough to know that we need to step up and really help in our country and around the world.
Where were you at that time in life? I mean, were you
Well,
a kid? Were you in the middle of the, I mean,
it was not too long ago. In fact, when I moved into the house that you were at on my Gwen Talks talk show,
Right.
that house was the house I moved into after being homeless for 17 months.
wow.
So you didn't know that.
No,
A lot of
no.
my best friends didn't know that.
No.
And certainly most of my family didn't know. And it goes into that shame and blame in a way, because that's what happens when we bury our abuses and what led us there,
Correct.
here and there and everywhere. But also because I had blinders on just to focus on what this journey is, I tried to, every moment of that experience, surrender and have faith and watch this path unfold and just take, one step at a time. And that was kind of...
How young were you at that time?
Well, it was just, I was 50.
Wow.
It was just not too long ago. So...
Then, to that point, were you working? Were you, I mean, on the road to thinking about what you would like to do? And then something hit, and then the homelessness part came.
Well, I've always been really clear about what I want to do. In fact, when I was 5, I told my mom I'm going to move to New York and I'm going to be a dancer. And I grew up in Des Moines, Iowa, so who knows how I knew what New York was. But I was determined. So I did do that path. I was a performer. I went to Performing Arts College. I got my BFA. I went to New Haven, and I got invited into the summer conservatory. I moved down to New York. I had a wonderful array of things that happened very early on in New York, with soap opera and recording contract. And
That was your career in entertainment.
that was a career in entertainment. And then I realized the power of producing, and I just loved it because I had control. So I loved that path. So I did all that through New York, and then I moved to LA. And so I've always done what I'm doing now. And I also introduced and intertwined technology.
So that's what I wanted to ask you about, was technology. But where did that come in?
So I was on the road as a singer and dancer in Asia, and I got involved in a very abusive relationship. So I left my contract. I left LA, and I said never to return to LA. Well, that's the old adage, never say never. Right. I went back to Iowa, and it was the floods, and I went to close down my voicemail back in the day when we had voicemail.
Yeah.
Cell phones weren't really in our life except for those big bricks that we put in our car. So I had one voicemail left of someone who I'd met when we were doing the cleanup of the riots. And he was a guy that was in the nonprofit arena, and he knew that I did work in the music side. So he asked me if I would come on board and produce with him, and we created this interactive box set of 47 artists of
Oh my
music.
goodness, wow.
And interactive back in the day was explaining to someone, you can put the CD in your computer,
Right.
and pop-up videos will come. And they're like, computer, I don't have a computer. It was just a little bit ahead of its time. So I got brought in to produce technology, meaning that I worked for different web companies.
I see.
And so I was a project manager and producer. I had an agent that I flew all over the country and worked with big brands to build their websites.
I mean, you're all over, which is phenomenal.
Well,
Being a CEO founder of Gwen Global Women's Empowerment Network was 2012.
Yes.
How did that come about?
So I was homeless at the time, and I wasn't ever on the streets, and I didn't have the mental anguish or instability or drug abuses. Mine came from a financial abuse that happened when I was brought to Africa to film for a man who was running for president of Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Right.
And I went there for 6 days, and I ended up being brought all the way through Africa and Belgium for 2 months. And that time frame, he promised to pay me, and it led up to thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and he sent me home with 60 euro.
Oh,
so
my
it was like
Lord.
$100 after knowing that I needed to come back and pay rent and
Bills,
car and
everything,
bills,
right. Oh.
and everyone was chomping at the bit, and I just had to surrender. My friend says, just come live with me and my family, so I became their family chef, and then I went and I house sat, and I organized people, and I did whatever I could to help whatever person was allowing me the grace to stay in their home. I lived in garages, so I had a very different experience with being homeless, but in that process, I realized to this day, there's a huge population of people that are homeless, and it ranges from teens that are being runaways and thrown out of their couch surfing, and grown, successful, beautiful, amazing, strong women that have given up their homes and they're now couch surfing or house sitting, and they don't have a place to call home.
So that was the beginning of Gwen.
Yeah, so when I came back,
Right.
I met our beautiful, beautiful Sue Smart
Right.
and Delby Smart, and I have to do a shout out to them because Delby asked me to bring Sue to a fashion job that she was doing. And I met some people there, Michael Littenberg, and I was getting ready to move up to San Francisco and leave LA behind
Right.
again. And then I started working with him, and he was working on a song and a clothing line with his friend Lynn Finale, who's a beautiful singer and activist and artist. And so we just started percolating, and then Gwen was percolating and born, and you were on my talk show, and you were on one of our TV shows,
Right,
and one of
right.
our models and our campaigns.
We're
And
going
so-
to watch the beginning of Gwen right now.
Yes.
Wow, that was something. Wow. You've done a lot. You have done a lot since that time. You're also, it says, an advocate of global equality. You've spoken at the United Nations in Geneva and New York.
Yes.
You also wrote this book, and this is what we're really talking about today, Homeless to the White House.
Yes.
I need to know about this and how it led to another subject, Reveal to Heal.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
So this book took a lifetime of experience and 8 years of my life to write. It opens up with me in the Congo with the gun pointed at me, and proceeds to wind back into my early days and through the successes and the tumbles in our life, which all of us have. And I realized in that process that I needed to reveal my own inner soul, my abuses that I've experienced, my, what people could call mistakes, but really they're just our building of armor to know that we're all in the right place and everything is perfectly and divine. So I realized that I had to reveal my own self and heal before I could ever imagine anybody in the Gwen network to be able to do that.
To talk, right.
So my book talks about my experiences, how it's really important to be vulnerable, and the main lesson of being able to have self-love, self-reliance, self-empowerment. So if I didn't have all those, how could I expect anybody else to?
You can't.
So I had to really put the good, the big girl pants on, as they say, and really
Right.
trench through the march through the trenches and reveal my story. So through that process, Reveal to Heal came to me. And I realized that...
It's called, again, Reveal to Heal.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes. So I realized that by revealing, I got to heal. And so we've created a program called Reveal to Heal. We have a social media campaign. We're doing our first summit in Phoenix.
Okay. Tell me about the process. Someone comes in, they've had a tough time. What happens?
So in our summit that we're starting, we're doing a 5-year plan. We're starting it on October 11th in Phoenix for 3 days. They will already have met each other on Zoom calls leading in, and they'll be broken down into smaller groups with a facilitator that has experience in helping people go through. They might be life coaches or psychologists. They're very professional that are on board with us.
And the people are age group. What am I looking at?
We're looking at all ages, and men are welcome to come as well. We're primarily targeting women,
Yes,
but
right.
men can come as well because we always do Gwen with the men. So when they come in, they already have their tool belts on, and now we're going to reveal what tools that they can have at their disposal. And at the end of the summit, what we want to do is realize that you can journal and meditate and process in a
Right.
safe place with us and continue to be private and behind the scenes. Or you can take the songwriter's journey with Brothers Corin and write a
And
song.
speak out, right?
Yeah, or you can be part of our Gwen books and be a published author. Or we can take you into an area where you might want to tell your story in a documentary or a feature film. So there's very many creative outlets that we can have and we offer to be able to reveal those stories.
What makes, and I know you're going to say the question is kind of far out there in a way. As a woman, you and I know that today's women are out there. I mean, thank you, God, that many of us are empowered at all ages to continue and to beat the system, so to speak, and to be successful in what we do. What makes your program a little different than others for someone that needs help would go to you and not to say something else?
Well, I think that the activism that's been going on in the women's movement has been going on since the 70s.
Correct.
And so I call those beautiful women that, beat through their masses, I call it the pendulum effect. We have to really swing the pendulum out so it comes down to the middle. I consider the Me Too movement a very important
Yes.
movement, but it seems like there was a lot of scattered bodies
I
at
know.
the end of that,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of healing that needed to be
Yes,
done for that. So I
very
think
much
what
so.
we offer in a different way to add on to the beautiful movement of Me Too is to know that men and women have to come together, and women have to support one another, and it's to lift up our younger women and celebrate them and mentor them. I didn't have any mentors. You're a wonderful mentor to many. I consider you a mentor since I met you, and how inspiring you are. And we just really need to realize that we're all on this planet together and we're human beings and we don't have to fight. That if we can be self-realized and have self-love and we heal from all of our stories, that we'll be able to work better harmony.
And the reason that you helped the children at that time, what were you, because the children's parents were the ones that needed help? Was that what it is?
Well, back in the World Trust Foundation days in the 90s, my advocacy for children was because I felt like they didn't have a voice, and then I realized that there's so many adults that don't have a voice, and there's so many women around the world that don't have a voice, and men that don't have a voice. The children, to me, are what I consider the cycle breakers. That if we can empower the young children and teach them about self-love, they can break the cycles of abuse that have come down from their generations and from their families, because no one's to really blame here. It's just, it's a trickle-down effect of madness and ugliness and evilness that needs just to have a light shine on it and to heal from it. And if we can teach children about self-love and know that if someone's bullying you at school,
Right.
you have the power to stand up to them and also have compassion for that person who might be bullying you, might be coming from a very terrible, abusive family that they don't know any
Themselves,
differently.
exactly.
So when we start to begin that understanding, the person that's being abused gets to see that this is a reflection in my life. What am I doing to bring this in a sense of how can I heal myself and heal the person who's across from
Right.
me? But most importantly is about that self-love.
This conference that you're having, you call it a conference or
A
3
summit,
days?
yeah, the
A
Reveal
summit.
to Heal Summit.
So there's workshops,
Yes.
okay?
We're not going to do the talking head panels. We're getting down to the basics. October 11th happens to be the International Day of the Girl out of the UN.
Oh,
So we're
okay.
celebrating all the young women. They're coming, like 12-year-old girls are coming to speak to all of us
I
on
love
Friday
that.
night.
I love
Then we
that.
do the workshops, and then Saturday night we do our annual Gwen Luminary Awards, and then Sunday we do a morning of service, and we bring our Gwen Lights Up campaign with solar-powered lanterns to homeless people living in the tents.
Oh, wow.
And then Sunday afternoon we continue on with the workshops.
Now, you got a award in 2003, I think it was,
Yes.
the Fête d'Excellence.
Yes.
Tell us about that one.
So that was an award created by Wilda Spalding, who brought me to the UN first time. I met her in 1999, so I spoke at the UN in 2000. And it was
And what
about,
did you speak about at that time?
I spoke about the convergence of technology and media and how we can use technology as a way to bridge cultures. But obviously that was almost 20 years ago.
I know.
And people were looking at me like I was cuckoo bird because, people were just
Right.
now getting involved with getting their email, and no one really understood social media and branding because it wasn't invented yet.
And you did. I
I
mean,
did very early on. I realized the importance of bridging cultures and understanding that we can celebrate each other and not necessarily have to, condemn them. That they're just bringing awareness of cultural differences is really about uniting people.
now, this summit that you're having with the workshops and everything, how many people do you surmise will be there? I mean,
So we have, we're shining a spotlight on nonprofit organizations at the summit. So we have Friends of Africa, Global Family Philanthropy, and the Rose House Charity.
Oh.
And the Rose House Charity,
what is that?
it is a transitional home for women who have come from addiction and they're on the process of healing. So there's 7 women in that house right now.
Wow.
So we're doing a campaign to give them a scholarship to attend the summit for free. And so we want to
Fabulous.
give about 15 to 20 women the opportunity to come and be gifted. And I have people clamoring right now. We're going to get a lot of, because this is still early September, we're going to get a lot of those women gifted this week.
Fabulous.
And then I want to keep it low key this first year. So maybe 40, 50, but the gala is open to the public. So we're hoping for about 200 people to be on the
wow.
rooftop of the Marriott Phoenix Renaissance
Oh,
Hotel.
and why Phoenix? I'm just curious.
So, very beautiful friend Kate Snabb works for the Marriott, and Marriott has come on board to be a really great sponsor and member of this whole
Good,
5-year
good.
plan. And Phoenix, because I have beautiful friends that have these organizations, and I love shining a spotlight on people and organizations that are doing great work. And Phoenix just felt right. And then we do Miami next year, Kansas City the following year,
Oh,
then
wow.
LA, then New York. So we have a 5-year plan to
I love
make
that.
this
A lot of
springboard.
organizations, I don't think, have 5-year plans like that. I think that's awesome that you do that. How many people are on your board?
So we're changing out the boards because we're out at the end of term. So we'd like to keep it really lean.
Okay. Well, they say lean and mean, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to say lean and mean because that's the coin, but I thought, I don't want them to be mean
No.
necessarily.
No. Lean and mean well.
I like that,
Yeah.
lean and mean well. I'll have to quote you
Okay.
on that. So yeah, well, we usually keep it around 5 to 7. I don't like big boards because
No.
then it gets scattered and people, it just gets a little
What
distracting.
was your moment of breakthrough, Tess? What was it? There had to be a moment in turmoil, and then there was they always say there's a light out there. What was that moment of, yes, I can do it?
I think I've had many of them on the path, and I think that's why I have the term of one woman's journey of never giving up, because like you, we never give up. We can never give up on that fight. So I've had many throughout, but one that just kind of flashes into my mind, I was living in my brother's basement. The Iowa floods of '93 were happening.
Oh.
We had to take showers in the driveway, and
no.
just had to go down to basics. So I'm like, okay,
Wow.
God, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
And being in this brick basement in the middle of Iowa reminded me of being in St. John's Cave when he was exiled there. And the prayer and meditation that he had to go through when the angels came to him with the book of Genesis. And
Interesting.
I had that kind of breakthrough moment, like, wait, there's something I'm supposed to be doing here that's bigger than me.
I think that's, I tell our audience all the time that you never can give up.
Yeah.
You just can't. It seems like in all our lives, we all have, like I call my life one of survival, but it's a different type of survival than yours.
Yes.
Or the next one. And everyone in the audience has something that they're surviving to get over. Take one step at a time, I tell everyone. And we all have a story to tell.
Yes.
And I say it's not how we tell that story, but how you live that story. Every moment, every day, every year. And you've lived it,
Yeah.
so that you know what not to go back to for other people when they tell you their stories. Can you give us an idea of a story that moved you and that had a success at the end?
Yes, there's a woman who we've kept her identity quiet, and this is just an example of 1,000 stories. But I met her when we first started Gwen, and I was looking for someone to help do like the layout of my book, and somehow we got connected through Facebook, and she thought that I wanted to get some illustrations from her. So I was curious about her art, and she proceeded to tell me, and she was curious about why me, that she opened up when she'd been in therapy for 7 years and never told the story fully to her therapist. So I felt like, I felt really honored to have that space, and I hold her story very sacred. But she was trafficked she was raped by her father at the age of 4, and then trafficked to the people in the town by her mother. And this is here in California. So when she was 12, the father committed suicide, and one of the Johns stepped in and became her step monster, as she referred to her, moved her out to 90 acres of Iowa farmland. And when asked, why did you move us out here? She was the oldest of 4 siblings. He said, so the neighbors wouldn't hear you scream at night. And that was life-changing for me, because that shattered me for her.
Right.
And they continued to traffic her throughout all of her childhood and even into the adult, because when you get into that mindset, you can't shake it, because at age 4, you're still so innocent, and it breaks my heart to share her story. But she's doing really well now. She's actually doing a lot of missionary work. She's one of Gwen Gals.
I love it.
And we're going to be doing her mom that adopted her, a real beautiful woman, is writing her story in a book, and we're going to be doing her film, when she's ready.
Right,
We are waiting
right.
for her to say, I'm ready, because I'm chomping at the bit for people to hear her story in a deeper way, because it's right in our own backyard.
Wow. Everyone out there, you know how I am with people. Especially people like Tess. It hits home, because as a woman, as a mother, as a grandmother, a great-grandmother, you see different things in the world, but you don't see sometimes everything. And homeless to the White House is your life. And what you've done with it to not only get yourself up and out, like I say, get up and get out and get a life, but you've done that. But you helped hundreds and probably thousands of people out there in your talks and everything else, plus your workshops and what you've done, that I wish you well. How does someone get homeless to the White House?
It's on Amazon. Unfortunately, a lot of our brick and mortar bookstores don't exist anymore.
I know,
but,
I know.
You can get it at Barnes & Noble online, but Amazon is a very easy way to get it.
Right.
And we have the Kindle version, and I'm probably by the end of by the holiday season, I'll have the audiobook out there.
Now,
it's already been recorded.
You're a 501c3, I know
Yes.
that. If someone wants to be kind enough and wants to donate and help what you're doing, how does one get in touch with Gwen?
It's a very easy domain. It's
Okay.
Gwen.global. Global is the end. It's
So
not
Gwen.global.
That's it.
That's it?
Gwen.global. Big donate button.
Hopefully it's going to be that easy to get help, because she
Yes.
really needs all the help that she can get for
We're in
what
this
she
together.
is doing. As I said, Tess Cacciatore, you are a blessed spirit.
I love you, Miss.
And we all thank you for what you're doing. Continue it. because we need it, and you are a shining star. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Pink Lady Presents. God bless you all. See you next time.
I'm gonna live till I die. I'm gonna laugh